Putin attacks Ukraine with massive strikes, and US President Joe Biden finally gives permission to strike with long-range weapons on Russian territory. These and other topics we will discuss right now on the air of our YouTube channel, War and Politics 24. My name is Iryna Uzlova, and I'm happy to join our conversation Mikhail Sheitelman, political strategist. Michael, hello. We are truly glad to see you.
Hi, nice to see you.
Thank you for joining. Russian attacks on Odessa are demonstrative strikes. Russia is only interested in continuing the war, according to the president of Ukraine, Volodymyr Zelensky. A ballistic missile hit a parking lot in Odessa. Apartment buildings, a university, and administrative building were damaged. 10 people were killed and nearly 4 dozen wounded in the shelling. What signals and to whom is Putin sending with the terrorist acts in our country?
Well, for my sorrow, it is the not only strike for today against civil population. The same strike was in Sumy, city of Sumy, which is on the east part of our country, and 11 people were killed, among them 2 children, and more than 50 people were injured in this attack on Sumy. And just in 12 hours after that, we had this strike in Odessa city, which is on the south of our country. And all of these attacks, they are immediately after all the negotiation attempts, let's say, attempts by Western leaders. After Friday's call by Chancellor Scholz, German Chancellor Scholz to Putin, and after the attempts by Mr. Trump to negotiate with Putin, and after new peace plan by Turkish President Erdogan. Yep. So yes, this is obviously the answer to each of these initiatives. But more than this, really, Mr. Peskov, who is the secretary of Mr. Putin, he explains that Russia is not ready to negotiation, and Russia absolutely deny each plan, which means that the war should be frozen by the current front line. So Russians not agree for this. So everybody who told us let's just do ceasefire by this front line, by current front line, we just could listen to Mr. Peskov and to understand that there is no chance to negotiation or to ceasefire now.
So, Michael, Putin received a clear response from US President Joe Biden for allowing Ukraine to use long-range ATACMS missiles to strike at Russian territory, in particular at North Korean troops, according to Polish Foreign Minister Radosław Sikorski. He says the victim of aggression has the right to defend himself. Strength restrains and weakness provokes, Sikorski emphasized. Are you agree with his statement?
For half of this statement, let's say, this is not clear answer. This is an answer. Certainly that is an answer for this, but not a clear answer. Why? What is the difference between answer and clear answer? Nobody in the White House openly said that. We have information from New York Times. We have an information from, for example, from Foreign Ministry of German. They said today that they received the call from White House, that White House allowed us to strike against Russia and deep into Russian territory. But we didn't hear it from White House itself. Because of that, we have a lot of speculation about what exactly was allowed by President Biden to strike with all the weapons which we have, or to strike with some certain weapon which we have from the United States, to strike all the targets which we need, or just to some list of targets. For example, there's a speculation that this permission is allow us only to hit in Kursk Oblast, where North Korean troops are now located. So we don't have exact information. But as President Zelensky, also today we have the day of 999th day of this war, and President Zelensky is still have the sense of humor, and he said yesterday that you will know the answer by the missiles. So Russians will know exactly what permission we received by the missile targets which we will use in the nearest future. I mean, probably this week, yeah. So this is the half an answer. And this is interesting because as Mr. Volker, who was in previous administration, was the special envoy for Ukraine by White House, he said that, okay, they just removed these limits. I mean the administration of White House today, they removed the limits, but the question why, where was these limits at all? Why were these limits at all? Because it is not part of moral, and this is not part of international law. By international law, Ukraine can use this weapon in all the Russian territory, and the only limitation is that this usage should be against military objects and not civil objects.
Yes, I can agree with you and with Kurt Volker, because we must protect ourselves, and this permission is in context of protection Ukraine and our territory and our people. So what will change on your views in the political and military aspects, this permission to strike with long-range weapons deep into the aggressor country at this stage of the war?
Well, it really affects both politics and war itself. War, I'm not so military expert, but obviously we can hit now to strike Russian airfields and Russian storage of ammunition inside Russia, because these ATACMS missiles, they can hit 300 kilometers inside Russia. And now the weapon which we use now is HIMARS, which has just 90-kilometer range. And that means that Russians, they should remove their logistic of more than 200 kilometers back. And it means that they can't bomb our cities, for example, so easily. They use about 1,000 air bomb per week against Ukraine. So when they move their airfields 200 kilometers back, it means that they could use only, let's say, 200 or 300. I don't know the figures. It is the question to military expert. But obviously, they couldn't kill so many civil people. I mean, Russian can't kill so many people like they kill today, for example. That is military aspect, but political aspect not less important. Just 2 or 3 months ago, Mr. Putin said that if Western countries and US especially gives us permission to use their weapon against Russian territory, it will be start of not World War III, but it will be the official. I just don't remember exact quote, but
like
something
the official start of war from NATO to Russia, he said
exactly,
3 months
war
ago.
of NATO against Russia,
Yes.
the official war of NATO against Russia, not Russia against NATO, but NATO against Russia, which means that Russia should answer to NATO, not to Ukraine, towards NATO. But today, it is very interesting. It's just one aspect, but very interesting. But today, Mr. Putin didn't say anything about that, just anything. But his press secretary, Mr. Peskov, he reacted for this permission. And what he said, President Putin said everything about that. That means that Mr. Peskov sent us 3 months ago, like 3 months back to the past, yeah, and said, you heard it 3 months ago, not today. But we have not today reaction.
Yes.
Which means today, then this is reality. And this is not theory, but reality. President Putin just don't agree to say that again, you know. Because if he says that again, it means that he should react physically on military action, not just on the words. But he is obviously not ready. And it will be the one more red line, which will be crossed by NATO and by Ukraine. And if we didn't receive any, if we don't receive any reaction from Russia, not word, not acoustic reaction, but military reaction, it means we are not ready to use their weapon against NATO territory, and we not ready to use their nuclear weapon.
But 3 months ago, we didn't have the permission from Biden's administration. So that words are empty today, really, and these threats from Putin. But Michael, how do you think? Why now? Why did Biden decide only now to give us this permission?
Well, it could be by two reasons. I don't know which one is the right one, but in theory, I just calculated. One of potential reasons. I think that probably there was some non-official agreement between Russian and American, not politician, more military management or intelligence management about exchange. Russians, they don't hit Ukrainian electricity system, Ukrainian energy system, and US does not give us permission to hit Russian territory. Because I remember that last negotiation about that was not negotiation, but the last discussion was exactly in August, September. And from August, September, Russians, they didn't do this massive missile attack against Ukraine. They just stopped it from the August. So I thought that there is some agreement. There is some non-official agreement, like it was in 2023. Now everybody knows it was secret, but now all the officials said that there was an agreement for the winter 23-24. So I thought that there was agreement also today. And Russia, they just didn't follow this agreement. So Mr. Biden also said, okay, when use these missiles, ATACMS missiles against Russia. This is the first version. The second version is about North Korean forces. Also, America and NATO, they sent obvious and openly messages towards Russia not to use North Korean forces. When we knew that North Korea sent its troops, 10,000 troops towards Russia, the message was, okay, they sent you the troops, but don't use it in the real war. And last week, it was just, I don't believe, but the end of last week, some representative of foreign secretary said, state secretary, US said that we know exactly how Russians now use North Korean troops in Kursk region, and they use them as artillery, and they use them for manage the drones also, and to build some battlefield constructions. So that means that American intelligence service, they know exactly that North Korean forces, they participate in the war. And the answer was immediate, almost immediate from US.
Yes, and yesterday Bloomberg reported that North Korea can send more than 100,000 new North Korean soldiers to Russia. So it was earlier yesterday, and then we saw an article of the New York Times which reported us about Biden's permission. But Michael, I should detailize about Russian reaction, because Russian propaganda is already calling for a nuclear attack on Washington, on Great Britain, on France, because of Storm Shadows and Scalp-G. But you are quite right that Putin's press secretary Dmitry Peskov is very cautious in his statements. So should we expect some strikes anywhere on Europe from the Kremlin, or have their red lines been crossed a long time ago?
Our previous experience with Russian says us that they never do that, because they are realistic in Kremlin. They said a lot of things. They sent a lot of messages. For example, the messages that they will strike by nuclear weapon against some cities, they sent it in each political crisis. For example, then International Criminal Court in Hague issued the order for Mr. Putin, they said in Russian parliament that they want to strike by nuclear weapon against Netherlands, for example. When the German sent us tanks, that they said again, it was the chairman of Russian parliament. He said that, okay, now we will strike Berlin. We will strike Berlin by nuclear weapon. So each time that we have some political crisis or some escalation from Western countries where they give us new weapon, for example, so Russians say, okay, we will use nuclear weapon. This time, so reaction this time is the same, because previous times they never used that. Previous time they never hit Western countries. The same crisis was with F-16, with jets, F-16 jets. When we just received them, then obviously we knew that American technical specialists, they work about these jets inside Poland. So our jets, then they need some technical support. They just fly towards Poland and afterwards back. And Russia said that they will think about Poland and Polish not aircrafts, but airfields as a military target. But they didn't do anything about that, because they are realistic and they understand that if they strike towards NATO territory, they will receive the strike back, and strike back will destroy Russia absolutely to the scratch, I mean.
Okay, so I think that we won't see some strong reaction, and it's only worse. And so go on. How do you think, Michael? I think about it, and during this day, is Donald Trump angry about Biden's permission, or maybe did they agree it when they had their meeting in the White House last Wednesday?
Rather agreed. I believe that rather agreed, because the first contact between Trump and Putin was on the last week, Monday or something. Nobody knows exactly, but there was this contact, and that is almost obvious that Mr. Trump didn't get the answer from Mr. Putin, which he liked. Yeah. He offered some peace deal. I don't know what one exactly, and it was very general, obviously, not the detailed peace deal. But when how we can now hear from Mr. Peskov, I'm sure that this answer was not that Mr. Trump was expected. So I believe it is good for Mr. Trump that Putin will be under pressure till the inauguration day of President Trump. And Putin rather will be agree for Mr. Trump peace deal in February or March or something.
Trump and Biden agreed it too, yes?
I don't know exactly if they agreed or not agreed, but he was informed. I believe that he was informed. I can't say they agree about that. They don't need this agreement. But Mr. Biden, he is not. He is very conservative. He is Democrat, but he is very conservative politics of old school old school politician. And I believe that he informed the next president, the president-elect.
So, will this Biden's decision and permission make our position stronger before Trump's inauguration, before January 2025, and before potential negotiations?
No, I don't believe. First, it doesn't change our position exactly, Ukraine's position, because we still now, we depends on the new decisions. For example, Trump can cancel this decision. Just in 1 minute, he can cancel this decision. So it doesn't change our position in negotiation. It changed our position in war, but not in potential negotiation against Russia, because it is not our position, it's American position. And President Trump, he can, for example, when he will come to White House, he can at the same day to give us some another missiles. or he can also use his own missiles against some Russian forces in Ukrainian territory, which is allowed by international law. This does not mean they started the war against Russia. This is Ukrainian territory. For example, Crimea Peninsula is Ukrainian territory. So then America strike Russian forces in Ukrainian territory. This is something allowed and exactly according to international law. So he can make very strong steps before the negotiation. But the pressure on Putin, it is not in our hands, it is in American hands.
Okay, clear, understand, thank you. So how do you think then will the North Korea stop to send their forces to Russian Federation now?
No, I don't believe. They have an agreement. This information about 100,000 troops, they didn't mention any source about that. It was like rather opinion than the information. But I agree with this opinion. Not on information, I don't know. I don't have an information. I'm not intelligence service. But with opinion, I agree. Because then North Korea sent 10,000 or 12,000 troops. That meant that this is the test case. This is just test case. Because in Russia, they worked about some integration process of these North Korean troops towards Russian army, towards Russian units. And this is very long way. And this is very big investment. Also the people's investment and time and money. So to build this system just for 10,000 troops, this is not, it doesn't sound like some logic here. But to build the system for receiving 10,000 troops more every month, for example, or every quarter or something, that sounds better for Russians. And obviously, they just built a way how to receive these 10,000 people, how to integrate them into Russian army, and how to use them in front line. And so really, North Korea can send that and can continue send that. And North Korea, they just today, there was a claim by Kim Chen-in. He said that North Korea, they will continue to widen their nuclear program, etc., etc. So North Korea, they will not stop. But maybe Russians, they could stop, yeah? Maybe Russians could ask North Korea, don't send us new troops. It costs too much for us.
Maybe, and I'm sure that we will continue to strike their North Korean forces too, because it's our main question of our life at all and in general. Why do some leaders, now I mean German Chancellor Olaf Scholz, not understand that Putin cannot be stopped by the policy of telephone conversation and appeasement of the aggressor? Why don't they act on the principle of peace through strength? Or maybe, Michael, Olaf Scholz was like some envoy to check Putin's attitude to his war and future plans.
I don't believe he was an envoy, because I heard the reactions for this Mr. Scholz move, reactions from France and reactions from United Kingdom. Just today, Keir Starmer said, okay, I'm not ready to call Mr. Putin and I don't agree with Scholz. And the same said Macron, that he doesn't agree with Scholz. And the same said Prime Minister of Poland, Mr. Tusk, that he is not agree with this diplomacy of calls and it doesn't work. But it was the, like, let's say, private view of Mr. Scholz. And I should mention, it is absolutely... he has absolute legitimation for that, because the German voters, the German nation, they wanted this call. We wanted this call. We have an opinion poll about that. Almost 60% of Germans, they wanted from Mr. Scholz that he will call Mr. Putin. So he just did his job, called Mr. Putin. And also after this phone conversation, he reported absolutely 100% what was this conversation about, yeah? And he said, first of all, as a Chancellor of German, I felt that I need to say again to Mr. Putin that we will not never leave Ukraine alone. And he said that they will continue support Ukraine with money and with weapons. And he said that. And I mentioned that Mr. Putin should withdraw troops from Ukraine. And he didn't agree. And he is not ready to real negotiation because Mr. Putin said to Scholz that, okay, just in May, I said exactly what I need. And okay, we heard this ultimatum, so we don't need it again. And Mr. Scholz absolutely reported that to all the Europe that he did as German nation wanted. So I don't believe that he started some negotiation process or because of Mr. Scholz's call, Mr. Putin feels that he is a very great guy or something. No, it will be just like something standalone event. This call from Scholz to Putin.
Michael, you mentioned about Erdogan's plan, and Bloomberg mentioned about it too today. Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan will present his plan for freezing war in Ukraine and G20. So this plan also includes delaying discussions about Ukraine's NATO membership and freezing, and also include establishing a demilitarized zone in the east of Ukraine, deploying international forces in the area, and providing military guarantees for Kiev as compensation for remaining outside of NATO. What do you think about this plan, and who is Erdogan's plan aimed at, and why now?
I feel sorry for his effort because he just announced this plan. When he just arrived to J20 to Brazil, he announced that he will present that. But Russia answered to this plan before seeing that. Russia answered absolutely certain. We are not ready to freeze the war by the current front line. We are not agree. We need more Ukrainian territories. We want to occupy more Ukrainian territory than we occupy today. And we don't ready to stop the war on current front line. That's obvious message. Nobody could say anything else because we heard that absolutely certain from press secretary of Mr. Putin. And we heard this from Mr. Putin exactly. And also Olaf Scholz heard this from Mr. Putin. So they have no any other possibilities, no any other options.
Yep, because Putin needs only war and killing of Ukrainian people, and we understand it and we feel it every day. Michael, thank you very much for these conversations. Thank you for your opinions and thoughts. See you next week. Be care of yourself. Goodbye.
Yeah. Thank you. Goodbye.
It was Mikhail Sheitelman, political strategist. It was me, Iryna Uzlova. Thank you guys for joining. See you next week.